great to be here, and it's wonderful to have an audience who's here to listen. It doesn't matter about the quantity. It's about the people who are here because they would like to probably engage. And that's truly what I would say energizes me. The topic that I chose was about safeguarding human trust in the digital era. And I would say, per choice, it's got AI, but AI plus plus, I would say. And there's a reason why I think that's important. It's important because what we are trying to do today is, I would say, we are trying to play the game of catch-up, right? We suddenly see there's this huge thing that has come up. We are all trying to understand it, to grasp it, and then to see how can we work with it and move forward. Part of it is also driven by, I would say, FOMO, fear of missing out. But in my opinion, FOMO is not a great place to operate out of, because you're always trying to catch up. When would you then be getting ahead, And when would you be able to see beyond the second corner so that you are positioning yourself at a strategic advantage? If we are able to do that, that's the time when we are truly positioning and planning ahead instead of just trying to, swim up to this tsunami of new things that are coming up. So while we will talk about AI, I think it would also be a good idea to grab a sense of what could be the softer signals that we are seeing from the future. And the idea would be to see, do they make sense? And if this, are we in position to start at least keeping an eye out on those, so that when they come up, it doesn't happen like this time, boom, and we are all suddenly trying to grasp what's this new thing. So, of course, AI is on everyone's mind. And if you look at the way that industry dynamics are shaping up, there's a lot that's bound to happen. To start with, they're saying that by the year 2030, plus minus, almost 50 to 60% of jobs would be new jobs. Those are even roles that have not been invented today. And if that is the case, you can imagine the amount of flux and churn that the market would be going through. Add to it the fact that the skills life, or the shelf life of skills, is now coming down to about 5 years. What does that mean? It means that, let's say, a guy at my age and stage probably had to deal with 2 major disruptions, right? Early 2000s, when we had to kind of gear up with computers and everything, and later with the age of AI. But in the very near future, every 5 to 7 years, you would have to keep upgrading yourselves, because only that way can you not be redundant in the marketplace. That's the era of, I would say, upskilling, reskilling at mass scale. And the last part is, if you see again, the past disruptions have started with certain small industries, and then they have spread across the entire ecosystem. This time is different. This time it's supposed to be impacting all industries all at once. And so the impact would be sharper, it would be harder, and it would be much more widespread as compared to what we've seen previously. So these really are the kind of challenges that we, as people who are interested in what's in the future and how are we going to be positioning ourselves, these are the kind of challenges that we are needing to look into. Now, if you see the way that technology spreads, it's called diffusion of innovation. How does innovation diffuse, right? Diffusion is a good thing because it means you're accepting it within the life, everyday life of ours, you know. If you look at the way that diffusion of innovation happens, that perhaps could give us an idea about what could be the future, what could be AI++, right? And how can we position ourselves for that? Now, one way is to look at it from the technology point of view, wherein you say A, B, and C are the things that will happen. But the other better way, in my opinion, is to see what is the problem that it's trying to solve. Because at the end of the day, it's only when technology gets to solve it. We are not talking about a new technology per se, right? But now is the time when the ground is fertile for this technology to be adapted and to be spread across. So this is really the way that we need to look at it. And if you look at how innovations or technologies move, the first stage is typically when I say it's created by specialists and used by specialists, right? I would probably put quantum in that bucket right now, right? It's a very niche area. It's happening inside labs. There are people who understand it, but they're few and far between. We hear about it, but we don't get to try our hands with it, right? That's stage one. Stage two is when it becomes one step closer to the world. Created by specialists, but used by everyone. I think ChatGPT is reaching that stage now. We are all using it. And AI in general, the different use cases, are approaching that stage. How many of you have tried vibe coding? Vibe coding, amazing, yeah. So isn't it so cool that you really don't need a tech coding background? You speak to it and it gets it done for you. And that's really the kind of opportunities that tech is now beginning to go towards. And you'll realize one more thing. When it starts phase one, it remains technical. Phase two, it has to be translated into something that common people can understand. And when you do that, you're preparing the ground for phase three, when it's created by everyone and used by everyone. And I think the mobile phone gives us a perfect example, right? Photography and videography, until some years back, it used to be a very specialized field. Today, people are shooting movies on iPhones. So that's when you see complete, kind of diffusion within the life of all of us. It's no longer an alien. It's no longer even technology. It's a part of our life. That's when you've reached stage three. So now the idea would be, if we want to look at future and trends, it would be great to be able to identify some things which are in stage one, or some things which are very early stage two. And if we are able to do that, that's the time when you will be able to know that while I'm keeping my eye on the immediate future, I'm also prepping myself to understand what's going to happen in the next midterm. So we talked about society being the ground which ultimately defines success of technology, adoption of technology. So if you are to look at stage two and stage three, it would probably make sense for us to look at the social context and then evaluate the technologies from that point of view, okay? So what's the social context today? In my opinion, number one, we all are living in a very, very fragmented world. Why? Think about it. The bank controls your financial information, okay? They hold your finance data. The hospital contains your medical records. Your university holds your educational certificates. Your landlord holds your rental data. They don't talk to each other. right? Each of them are silos, which is the reason why you look at your phone, you've got so many apps. Every one of those apps you need to sign in. Isn't that amazing? And that's no different from our real life. Any place we go to, we need to first show our identification. Try entering the airport without one. And why is that so? Because the data today is living in silos. These are islands of data. Now we're talking about AI. We're talking about systemic integration. What happens? We are creating opportunities that lets the machines help us take decisions. We'll come to that, whether it's good or bad and how we make it better. But for this to happen, the machines need to have an integrated view of data. If it is now living in silos or if it's living in islands today, the best scenario is when these data are getting connected together. That, in very simple terms, is what the semantic web can do for us. So the semantic web will be able to connect different islands of data and put it in a way that a machine can understand it, just like I understand my medical report. All right? Now, that's the semantic web's job. All right? We've got till the point of integrating the two islands and creating a bridge between them. Now, what next? This bridge is vulnerable. It can be hacked, it can be attacked. How about securing this bridge? We need to do that. And in my opinion, that's where blockchain would come in, right? So if semantic web bridges the different islands of data, blockchain would make that bridge secure. That's the time when your AI would be able to actually integrate, work, and have a complete sense of it. Now, there's also another side to the story. Where does all this data lie? Meaning, your bank has got your financial records. That is actually stored in some vault in a mega centralized data center, probably from Amazon, Google, or any of those biggies, right? Now imagine this, millions and millions of sensitive data being held in a warehouse of data, right? Isn't it incredible if you're a hacker to just go crack that? Because in one shot, you get access to that kind of volume of data. And you can just live happily for the rest of your life. This is the real problem of cybersecurity. And this is the reason why everyone is so concerned with cybersecurity. You have to be. Because if your data is breached, if it's vulnerable, you lose the trust of everybody who has taken your brand at face value, taken your promise at face value. And cybersecurity is getting increasingly difficult with quantum and these advanced AIs stepping in. I'll also talk about that in a bit. But centralized servers create the problem of being a single point of, let's say, failure, right? What's the option? There's another option. Imagine you have your data, which is integrated now. What if it's on your own smartwatch, or on your own phone, or in your own PC, instead of being in the centralized data houses? Now, this ability to house data in volumes and make it available on demand to the outer world, that's what edge computing is doing for you, right? And when these three are working together, you have a kind of synchronicity that brings a seamless experience of your life, right? Now comes the final part, which I'm talking about as XR, extended reality, you know? It just sounds like a fancy term. Actually, all of us are using it in many ways. We all use AR, like augmented reality. We have used these Mickey and Minnie filters, Instagram filters, etc. That's where you place a layer of digital on top of your physical. The physical is my face, the digital is that Mickey ear, So you've got the digital and the physical together. Technologies today, especially these, the visual technologies, are bridging a gap that exists in this world right now. What's the gap? Look at us. We are all in the physical space together. But where is digital? Digital is behind this screen. It's happening in another realm. So clearly there are two realms. One, physical, number two, digital. Now what happens is, with VR, AR, XR, MR, there are a lot of fancy terminologies, but bottom line, you get a possibility of visualizing your data in the world around you. And when that happens, it opens a new door to a completely different scenario. What could that world look like? I just found a picture some time back, and I want to just show it to you. Imagine you're wearing a smart glass, okay? Not even a VR glass, just a smart glass. And you're walking down the streets of Tokyo, all right? You don't need Google Maps because it's already showcased on the road. Oh, and by the way, last month, Google launched their latest AR glasses, all right? This actually features this technology, and this is what they've shown in there, right? So what we are talking about is AR and maps combination, no new tech, all right? Imagine the same thing happens here. It could be written in any language. All it needs is NLP, conversion, and showcasing it as an AR experience, right? Imagine somebody is walking across, and you can speak to each other in your respective languages, but still be understood. That's the kind of new world it opens up. And believe me, all of this, the technologies that will run it are already existing today. There's nothing new that we've talked about here. AR, VR, XR, you've got NLP, and a few others. All of them existing technologies. So the point I'm trying to say is that as the grounds become fertile, we will be seeing more and more of these new technologies getting integrated. Why? Because at the end of the day, what's the ultimate objective of digital? Digital is a synthetic world. We want to make it as close to natural. That's it. What is the most natural? This. And when digital comes close, that's the direction that it will go. So this is the way that I look at it. Socio-technical frameworks actually help us understand the trends of technology. All right? Now, when this happens, imagine every single human endeavor would need to be redefined, right? Games, sports, shopping, workplace, social media, everything gets redefined. And that, my friends, is a trillion dollar opportunity for all of us to participate and step in. That's the way I see technology, the trends, and the ability to at least take an estimated guess at what could be coming. That's the opportunity that it can throw up for us. Imagine, on the other hand, we don't think about the day after. We are just chasing the next big thing, which is immediate. You're always playing a game of catch-up. And as young people, we know that it's important for us to be thinking ahead because we need to be strategically positioning ourselves, right? So this is the good side of what could happen, all right? Now, there's also another side to the story because, the talk talks about trust. So I want to talk about that. And I want to go back to communications, marketing, and media. And one of the gurus, there's this term of global village, right? That term has been coined by this gentleman, Marshall McLuhan. And he says that we shape our tools, and our tools shape us. What an amazing thought, right? And think about it, that's so true, right? And the point here is, yes, we shape our tools, but if we do not think it through, we may not like how our tools are shaping us. That's the point of concern, all right? And what do I mean by that? if you look back, let's take television, okay? It gave us a global village. What it also brought was it trivialized politics, right? It's now become a theater. And journalism has become just headlines and sensationalism. There's no in-depth experience learning anymore. Look at mobile phones. Mobile phones, it kind of made us into a connected generation. But the other side of the story is that it's also given us digital addiction. That's a very real scenario today, right? And you can also think of digital payment system, which is, they say it's India's claim to fame. Yes, absolutely. It's redefined trust. But digital payments ecosystem has also converted us into an EMI generation. And some would say we are living on borrowed credit, all right? That's not the healthiest place to be in. So the point I'm trying to make is technology is fantastic. It gives and it takes, okay? So when it's shaping us, we need to make sure that we understand the ramifications and create kind of guardrails to help us meet those areas. So especially for India, it's highly important. Why? We are the world's fastest growing digital society, the world's fastest growing digital society. The things we are doing today would not be having an impact factor of 1,000, 2,000, 50,000, or a lakh. We are talking about a billion population, the things that we do today. Imagine if we get it wrong, what could happen? And this, why I'm talking about is I'm also speaking a little bit from personal experience. We talk about digital addiction. What is it based on? It's about behavior modification. How do you modify that behavior? You pick up the available data of user journeys and which are the points at which they behaved in certain ways. You collate that and you use certain learning theories, which are basically web psychology theories, to frame a behavioral pattern, and then you say, I need this guy to move from here to here, and this is the way that I will make him move, all right? Now, if addiction was caused by this kind of a rudimentary data that's available, you can imagine what will happen when we get into biometric data. And one of my area of interest is the metaverse and the immersive worlds. There we get everything. How a learner or a viewer moves within an ecosystem, his eye tracking. In fact, we can even track his body temperature and his sweat, because if he's hesitating, if he's nervous, you can see actually at which points what is triggering what. You draw these correlations. Now imagine, this kind of data has never been available in the Web 2 world, and we are talking about digital addiction. In this scenario, with so much of behavioral and let's say biometric markers available, it will no longer be digital addiction, it could literally be digital slavery. My point is very simple. We shape our tools, but we should shape them rightly. And that's the only time when we can ensure that the tools are also shaping us in the direction we need to move. That's where ethics, that's where the fundamentals of trust come in. And that's the reason why trust, in my opinion, today it's faith, it's not trust. Why am I saying so? Many of you are using apps. Many of you are using apps given by your own companies. You have probably rarely gone into the statement to see what are you agreeing to in terms of terms and conditions. We never do that. We trust our company would have looked at it. That's not really the case. So what I'm trying to say is that in this era, trust cannot just be by technological enthusiasm. Trust needs to be built into the design. How do you build it into the design? You can build it in two ways, in my opinion. Number one, make sure that people who are building the system are not uni voices. What do I mean? You put in one room a bunch of engineers and technology enthusiasts, they will build you a fantastic system. They will not have guardrails. You need in the same room people like us, skeptics, critics, people who doubt technology, people who will ask questions, people ask why not and why this. That's the only time when you will be starting to build systems that will be having certain fail-safe mechanisms within them. In my opinion, if we don't do that, we are reaching a very difficult stage. And I was also listening to a lot of wonderful speakers on the main stage today. They all talked about integrations and ideas, right? I have not heard them talk about mechanisms of how you ensure that this is not gone rogue. And believe me, if AI does go rogue, it poses a serious challenge for us, very serious challenge. So, my point is simple. I'm not a technology pessimist. I am anything but a pessimist. I am optimist. And I want to tell you that all of us must participate in this big ecosystem, because if there is that future world getting made, damn, I want to have a part in that. And I'm sure each of you should too. And I've already kind of gotten in that way. I'm not from the core tech world. I'm not a computer scientist. But tech is something that's very embracing. That's what I've found out. It does not shun people who do not understand it. It just says, take a little time, grasp what are the basics, and rest of it is common sense. So I've got my own company, which is Brandkill. It's a fully virtual company. We operate in the metaverse, and this is our metaverse. And people from all over, including different countries, we meet in the metaverse, we hang out there, we watch movies, and we also do work, and we do complex project management inside our metaverse. Part 2 is another company called TechnoKiln. This I founded with a couple of global friends. This is working in the area of decentralized neural AI. Decentralized, why? Because if things go wrong, we should be able to pull the plug, and the plug should be in my hands. That's where edge comes in, okay? So this is edge-based AI application. And the third is Compute Portal. This is something that is a company where there are 3 of us. There's my friend Yunil. Yunil was the global CTO for Samsung for 18 years, hardware, software, applications. So he's looking after the tech part. I look after the product part. And there's Jerry from US, who's looking after the business aspect. So what we are doing here is creating an opportunity for you to hook up that smartphone of yours or your telephone of yours to create your own private edge cloud, which would be secure, which would not be tapped or data harnessed by big tech, and which would not be, let's say, hacked, because we are building in quantum secure encryptions in there. So the idea is, on one side, there is infrastructure, then there is AI capabilities, and the third is all of them coming together into the metaverse. In case that does happen, I want to have a foot in that game as well. It's not greed. It's just making sure that if you believe in something, why don't you participate in it? And I would like to just leave you with this one thought. Many people say that things are going haywire, big tech is taking over. I don't know what will happen. I beg to differ. I feel that that's like saying, I don't like the country's politics and I'm not going to vote. Then there is no chance of things changing. I would rather say, let me step in, do whatever little I can, build along the areas that I feel is ethical. If there are takers, well and good. If not, at least I have tried. And I believe if we each try and keep questioning, we would be going towards a kind of a better future. I think I should end it over here. And that's it. So basically, trust has to be inbuilt into the system. There is going to be a way forward. If we see it, we could probably participate in it.
We will now have Manas be joined by Sarika Chavan, founder of Sparkle Gift Card, co-author of Spark, Shine, Surge, PR, Leadership Trilogy, and Sarika also writes a long-running monthly book review column for her reputation today. Let's have Sarika Chavan on stage. Can we have big round of applause for Sarika?
I'm not Chavan, I'm Chavan, Sarika Chavan, please. I think Manas has done a great job of sharing so much about technology. Please have a seat. And I have very little time because he took the entire 30 minutes and we are running short of the sessions are going late. So if any questions in the audience, please ask now or else I'll go ahead and ask 1 or 2 questions to him. So any questions you all have, please, can someone give the mic to her?
Hey, hi Manas. Thank you for the session. I am Preeti and I want to ask that you talked about edge computing. So currently we store the data on the cloud. So backup and recovery is already handled with that. With edge computing, how are we handling the backup and recovery of the data?
Oh, excellent. Wow. Okay, I will try to keep it less technical so that everybody would enjoy this. The point she made is amazing. Okay, edge, the ability to store data in your own devices and to have them connected so that it can perform operations which need more computation power. That's a difficult environment to operate in. Why is that so? Because if I move inside a cafe or a restaurant, my connectivity might be lost. That's the kind of difficult scenario that we are operating in. And what she asked about is, how do you manage a backup scenario in an edge ecosystem, right? So how you typically handle it is, you have certain frameworks which help you. I would say, you remember the Docker part, right? So imagine you create Docker images and you build a master-slave relationship. You have a controller which is responsible for a cluster of devices, okay? Now this controller is sensing the moment this guy is out of range, it switches it to another device, which would be the main device then. And the backup then remains at another edge, which is comprised of the centralized controllers. That's the way typically it's being handled.
Any other question? Yeah.
It's a very non-technical question. I was really intrigued by the fact that you hang out in the metaverse and watch movies. So I want to understand, what is it that you do? I'm just curious.
What is it that we do?
Yeah, like how do you hang out in the metaverse? How do you watch movies? Because my husband has no time to physically go and watch a movie. So I was thinking that maybe the metaverse will help us.
Amazing. So, you all have Google Meets and morning stand-up meetings. My team, we all come to the metaverse, which is our own metaverse, and we meet in there. Why do we do that? Is because of 2 things. The losing of corporate culture is something that's a challenge with pure digital or virtual ecosystems, right? Because corporate culture happens when you talk to each other in the water cooler, or you're passing by and you speak to each other. This happens because of presence. And metaverse gives us the opportunity of presence. So when you're present together in the same system, you start feeling better connected than if you're seeing each other on a Zoom screen. So that's one. What do we really do? We have actually got a theater, a hall, where we watch Formula 1 races. So all of us go there. It's like you're just here. I'm not just able to, you're not just physically present, that's all. So we are all looking at it together. I can talk to you. I can whisper to you. I can whisper to Sarika, and you would not hear it. So it's called spatial audio, audio that is connected by space. So these are the very realistic scenarios that are available today for us to really experience. And why not set an example if you are wanting to understand, future tech? Because, there's this very interesting line I came across. I don't remember who spoke it. He said, the future is already here. It is just not evenly distributed. That's it. So I found that to be fascinating. So that's really what we do. We spend time, we work, we do project management, and just like you have team building meetings and stuff, we go, hang out together in the metaverse.
I have one question on that. Are our laws ready for it?
The short answer is no. The long answer is absolutely no.
Because this can go haywire.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in the metaverse,
Yeah.
or how do you handle that? How do you deal with that?
No, it's a wild, wild west, if I may be very, very honest and open with you. Why is that so? Because if you look at the laws and the way they're structured, it's usually from the utilitarian principle, greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. That means laws are focused on mainstream topics. This is not mainstream, yet to be, right? And this is an area where, therefore, there are lots of gaps and cracks. What am I talking about? Between countries, the IP laws are different. There are also tremendous ways in which you can misutilize the system. I'll give you another example. If I'm a bad actor, okay, if I have some malicious intent, I want to, let's say, run a hacking or a scam, how would I structure my company? Should I tell you? I will first set up a trust in the Cayman Island. From that trust, I will issue tokens. These tokens will then be sent to an entity in Singapore. Why Singapore? Because Cayman Islands and Singapore don't have a treaty between themselves. They don't exchange data. So I will send this to Singapore. That's where my trust would be set up, okay? My treasury is set up in Singapore now. Third, I'll set up an entity in Liechtenstein, which would be the actual entity that is doing the business. That's controlling the funds from Singapore. That has been minted in Cayman Islands. Try figuring this out. Impossible.
Do you have the picture ready? I want to show you all something. That's my last question. We are done, then we'll move to the next one. Do you know who this guy is? Manas. So you can change it. So Manas is an avid bike rider. How did you venture into such a technical? It was very technical for me.
I'm sorry.
See, my questions are very simple, okay? I can't deal with such technical questions. I had those, but I have no time. So yeah, please give us, and also the book that you wrote. Please talk
Okay.
about that. Please change it.
So, sorry. So, after about 20 years in the corporate world, I hit what I
Yeah,
can
he
only...
comes from comms. He was
Right.
Mercedes-Benz Copcom head. Yeah, and what
Yeah,
else?
a few things. So, after 20 years in the corporate world, I got what I can only describe as midlife crisis. And I said there should be some things more than just, eat, live, and pop it one day. And I said, let me do it a little differently. So I quit my job, came back to India, and both me and my wife, we love motorbiking. So we took up our Ducati motorcycle and started traveling. And when we finished the trip, it was 18 countries and 20,000 kilometers we traveled. And we didn't realize that became a national record. And the rest of the journey of taking risks, finding out new ground, I would in a way owe it to this specific journey, because that was all about doing something you do not know, taking life as it comes and figuring it out. So that's all.
That's fabulous. Thank you, Manas. He's around here if you'll have more questions on technology, IT, AI, everything. We are done for now.